Mortal Kombat 11 lets you mix and match your attacks, which helps your playstyle stand out even in a mirror match. However, with that said, some attacks are much better than others, and certain attacks are downright useless.
It was at this moment that she knew.
So today, let's talk about those attacks.
Check it out. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
And keep in mind, I won't be including any attacks from my first video on this topic. Even though they are still terrible, this video will focus on other attacks instead to keep things fresh. So please comment down below which attacks you think are the worst in the game, and without any further ado, let's get started. Number 6, Cassie Cage's drone control. Yes, I know its name is right there on screen, but that thing is a mouthful and I honestly can't be bothered because this attack is absolutely terrible. At least when it comes to competitive play. From a novelty standpoint, it's kind of creative. You can do a bunch of different stuff with it. You can be very annoying if you have a big life lead, and believe it or not, while it's too slow to actually extend combos, you can cancel it and then extend combos after it. So at the very least, this move is not completely useless. If your opponent is dumb enough to get hit by it, or maybe their controller disconnects, you can then extend combos after it. So this move would honestly have a lot of potential if it was just a bit faster on startup, but you can't control it right away, and you also have to move it forward, because if you don't, it's going to whiff on pretty much every single hit, because like, check this out. As you can see, pretty much every attack is going to miss unless I manually move the drone forward, but if I do that, the opponent has time to hit me. So even if I do land an attack on the opponent and cancel into this thing, they can still interrupt me if I'm not fast enough. Oh, who am I kidding? Their attacks are pretty much guaranteed unless I cancel immediately, and even then they can still get a hit if they react fast enough. If I'm being honest, I've never seen a more fitting troll move in the entire game because it doesn't give you any real competitive edge. It's strictly to annoy and upset your opponent. And honestly, that would be fine, except this move takes up 2 variation slots. That's right, it takes up 2, and it's almost completely useless. Now, thankfully, Cassie Cage is blessed with one of the best core movesets in the entire game. So even if you gave her nothing but terrible special moves, she still has a base kit that's so good. And that's why this move is only number 6, because while it is pretty much useless on its own merits, Cassie Cage has such a good base kit that she can still get a win even with this terrible move. And then at number 5, we have Shang Tsung scrolls. This includes vile inscriptions and malignant sorcery. Now once again, in theory, these scrolls don't seem that bad because one of them reduces the opponent's damage on you and the other one increases your damage on the opponent, so your combos hurt a little bit more. Now the issue is Shang Tsung's damage has already been nerfed, so buffing his damage just means he does like average damage now. So once again, it does sound nice in theory, but here's the issue. Look how long it takes to actually put the scroll away. Almost a full second. 53 frames on startup, 52 frames on recovery. So that's a lot of time to just be standing there. And as a result, you do not want to activate these things even on hit unless you knock the opponent down. That's the only time you can actually do it. But check this out. The curses do not last for a long time at all. Look at that. It's already gone. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but after you activate the scrolls, you're actually at a disadvantage in frames. Look at that. I'm -9, which means even though I got the knockdown, I now have to block because it takes that long to recover. And once the opponent finishes that block string, the effect of my curse has already worn off. And then for the final nail in the coffin, the damage increase isn't even that great. So look at this combo. By default, 251. Not too shabby. Let's see what it does with the curse. We're getting about 314, so it's an okay increase in damage, but nothing crazy. It was like, what, 50 more damage? So that's pretty much the damage difference you get for giving up all frame advantage because this move takes so darn long. And the reason I consider this move even worse than Cassie Cage's drone control is because Shang Tsung does rely on his custom abilities a lot more than most characters. Don't get me wrong, he's very strong with the right moves, but that's my point. You don't want to waste even one slot on this move, because honestly, these moves aren't even good for trolling. At number 4, we have Sindel's Bellowing Banshee. So once again, Sindel does gain a lot from her custom abilities, so you don't want to waste any of those slots, and this move is not only bad, but it's actually counterintuitive. So for starters, it can only be done in the air, which means most of the time you're only going to get a jumping kick into this move, and the damage ain't that great. 17%, I guess it's okay for only 2 hits, and it's also a double overhead, so maybe you can trick some people, but as you can see, if you delay it, it's going to miss completely, so you can't even delay that jump kick because then it won't connect. And to make things even worse, this move is very, very punishable on block. So look at that, -25. So even with all this pushback, the opponent can still dash forward and then punish you. And in fact, if they have a teleport, then they can punish you every single time regardless. So characters like Devora and Scorpion, they get a full combo punish every time they block this move. And while this move is +25 on hit, the opponent is knocked so far away that it negates any frame advantage you actually had for landing the move. Even in the corner, zoner, you give up any possible pressure because you're just too far away. And that's why I consider this move so bad, because even if you do land it, you don't get anything out of it except for damage. I mean, I guess maybe you could zone, but in this game, Sindel's not even the best zoner. She does really good damage with her combos up close, and she also has some great 50-50 mix-ups. So if you ask me, she doesn't want to be a zoner, at least not very often. Which means bellowing Banshee is counterintuitive to how you actually want to play this character. On block, it's super duper unsafe, so that's terrible, but then even if you do land it, you don't really get anything out of it. Honestly, if this move was safe on block, I think it would actually have something going for it, but as it stands right now, it's easily one of the worst attacks in the entire game. And then at number 3, we have SubZero's Cold Shoulder. Now I feel so bad for this move because honestly, on its own, it's not terrible. It covers a lot of distance very quickly, you can amplify it for more damage, and on counter hit, you get a crushing blow. And since you can amplify on block, it's actually a bit of a mix-up, especially at the casual level. However, the issue is this gets rid of SubZero's slide, and why would you ever want to do something so criminal? That slide goes under projectiles, it's a random low in the neutral, it can be a 50-50 in certain situations, or at least very tough to block after an overhead, so why would you ever want to give up the slide? The honest answer is you wouldn't. You would never give up the slide, and as a result, since we now have custom variations, you will never see anybody use this move unless they just got the game and they don't know how good the slide is, or maybe they just love how this move looks. Because once again, the slide is better in every single way. It's also faster. I didn't mention that. The slide is faster than this move. I saw a really good idea in the comment section saying this move should actually break armor, and that could also be a way that it gets a crushing blow. That's honestly a really good idea and would give the players a reason to actually use it in certain matchups. However, as it stands right now, nobody in their right mind is going to use this move because it gets rid of SubZero's slide. And then at number 2, we have an attack that I can't even pronounce, so I'm just gonna go ahead and call it Burst. Honestly, I'm not sure what this move is actually for. I think maybe the idea was that it's an anti-cross-up, so the opponent wants to jump over you and you catch him with this. Because as you're about to see, I can't even combo into this thing on hit outside of the corner. I'm putting the opponent pretty close to directly above me and I still can't hit them, but thankfully once you're in the corner, you actually can connect it. However, unfortunately, its recovery is so long that you can't combo after it, so it's not for extending combos, only ending them. And while you can amplify it for a bit more damage, look at that, 209, but now check this out. I'm gonna spin the bar and look at this damage, 219, so there we got more damage, and if we do a command grab instead, we're getting even more damage, so even for ending corner combos, this move sucks. However, I should also mention that when amplified, it's also safe on block, but barely at -7. In fact, I do believe there are still a couple of 6-frame attacks that can punish this thing, but for the most part, it's safe. However, in saying that, you also have the amplified disc toss, which is also way better on block and even does more chip damage too, so why would you ever want to resort to using this thing? As you can see, this move is actually useless. There's no reason you would ever want to use it. It's not good for trolling, it's not good for damage, there are way better options on block, there is literally no reason to ever use this move. It's not even a good anti-air, there are better attacks for that as well, so it's just inferior in every single way. So as you can see, one of the worst attacks in the entire game. And then at number 1, we have Kitana's Edenian Fade. This move, once again, has no reason to ever be used, and just like certain characters on this list, Kitana relies very heavily on her custom abilities, because her base toolkit is absolute dookie. I'm telling you that as a Kitana main myself. Her core abilities are not very good. She needs those custom slots. So not only is this move a wasted slot, but get this, it takes up 2 slots. I don't know why some of these moves that are absolutely garbage take up 2 slots, but this is one of those cases. So let's go ahead and talk about why. So for starters, there's absolutely no way to ever combo into this thing. It's just not going to happen. You can't combo into Dark Plunge or Far Dark Plunge or the Arcing Side. None of it's ever going to combo. So already that's pretty bad, but to make things even worse, look how bad it is on block. Check this out, -23. That's really bad. And once again, the opponent's gonna block it every single time unless their controller disconnects, because it never actually combos. And it's not just the plunge attacks, the sides are also really negative on block. Look at this, -22. Now this time I'm gonna try and delay it. Okay, minus 14, so no matter what you do, this thing is fully punishable on block. And honestly, that wouldn't be terrible if you could decide where she teleports to, but she always goes straight up, which means she's always going to be right in front of the opponent if you try to do it on hit. And as a result, you can't ever use this thing on hit. Every single option is going to lead to a full combo punish, so instead, this move's going to be for, I guess, counter zoning, because you avoid a projectile and then throw your own, but the startup is so incredibly long that most opponents can just block in time. Not to mention, Katana already has some really good projectiles, and her side teleport is way better for countering zoning than this thing will ever be, and in fact she also has an absorb. She can absorb projectiles and get a damage buff, so that's way better than this too. So to summarize, this move is completely useless on hit. It will never extend combos, and if the opponent ever blocks it, they can punish you for a full combo every single time, no matter how much you delay it. And even as a counter zoning tool, it's not that good because the Edenian Fade has some pretty long startup. So if you want a counter zone, then just use the Half-Blood stance instead. It's way better and has way more options too. It's not just for counter zoning. And if your main goal is just avoiding projectiles, then you already have the Royal Protection, which not only absorbs projectiles, but also gives you a damage buff and makes Katana quite the monster actually when it comes to combos. And once again, need I remind you, this move takes up 2 slots. So not only is it the worst move that Katana has, but it also takes up 2 slots. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I consider this to be the absolute worst move in Mortal Kombat 11, with the exception of the moves I mentioned in the last video. Katana's base toolkit is dookie. She relies on these special custom abilities, and this one is absolute garbage. But let me know in the comments which moves you think are the worst in Mortal Kombat 11, and then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.